Okay, so I just started recording this audio, and I've got to say that this is a completely unscripted thing I'm doing for this video. So, yeah, get ready, cause it's probably gonna be kind of a long one. It's gonna take a while for me to finish this one. I can't believe the Amazing Digital Circus has come to an end. So, yeah, I first started watching the pilot back in high school on the lunch break when one of my friends told me about it. So I decided, I wonder what it's about. So I decided to watch the pilot by myself during that lunch break. And I forgot to say, it was pretty funny and kind of interesting and scary. And the more I decided to watch the series back in March, I got more interested in it. And I was like, I wonder what's going to happen next episode. This seems pretty fun and kind of scary. So I decided to wait a little longer until the final episode released yesterday. And yeah. The reason why I didn't really watch the series besides the pilot when it first came out is that I was kind of busy over the years, but then I decided to watch these episodes back in March, like the rest of the episodes from episode 2 and 8, just to see because I was pretty curious. And oh my god, these episodes were pretty wild. I do have some more stuff that I could go on and say about it, but I don't really have anything to say in mind. So, yeah. In this video, I will primarily be talking about episode 9 and how it changed the series as a whole. And this is also going to be a review of episode 9. So, massive spoilers warning. If you have already watched the episode, The Last Act in theaters, you're good to watch this video. But if you have not watched episode 9 yet on YouTube, go watch it now since it released on YouTube already, and come back to this video. So, basically, episode 9 is not at all as I was expecting. It had some good parts for most of the time, but it also had some kind of flawed parts. Now, before we get into this full review of episode 9, I just wanted to say that I did hear about the leaks, and I unfortunately stumbled upon half of the leaks that spoiled half of the movie for me. So I was like, what's the point of dodging spoilers and leaks if they're absolutely everywhere now? So I got curious, but then I decided to not go to the theaters and just wait for the YouTube release. And on June 19, I just woke up at around 8 a.m., and I was just waiting for my Kane plush to arrive because I ordered it a month ago back on the 3rd of May. And as usual, I had to keep checking stuff, and I also browse the internet online just to see stuff. And then basically, I went downstairs, I got dressed, I brushed my teeth, I washed my face, and I brushed my hair, and so basically I had to get dressed early for the big day. And at around 11 a.m., I had to bring some stuff I need just in case, and also backpack some water, and also some other stuff for me when I go out. And around that same time, I had a bread and eggs for me, and it was delicious because it's my favorite food that I ate. And then at around 11:30, I got everything packed up, and I went to leave my house at around 11:30 a.m. So I took one bus, 2 trains, and I went there to the mall. So when I came to the mall, the first thing I thought was like, what should I do first? And then the first thing I thought about doing in the mall was that I went to go get some ice cream. So basically, I had a bit of a large cup with 3 scoops, and then I went to go sit at the table with some sprinkles on top of it. So those 3 scoops had like mint chocolate chips, a vanilla, and a cotton candy that's purple and pink. And I basically thought of it as the Ribbit, Kaufmo, and Jack's ice cream because I find the idea so interesting and kind of symbolic at the same time. So I ate the chocolate mint first, representing Ribbit's abstracted, then vanilla second, representing Kaufmo's abstracted, and then finally the cotton candy flavor, representing Jack's abstracted. It was so good, but it was kind of cold at the same time because it got a red spot on my tongue. But I still liked it anyways. So the next thing I decided to do at the mall was go to Hot Topic for the first time. Just check out some stuff. And basically, when I got there, I saw the Amazing Digital Circus Last Act poster, like this one, on the screen. And I was like, oh my god, is that what Hot Topic's really about? Some alternative gothic emo styles? And when I got into the shop, I saw a lot of things catching my eyes. I saw Vocaloid, Murder Drones, Sonic the Hedgehog, some other anime that I couldn't recognize, and, of course, the Amazing Digital Circus. I went to look at the Amazing Digital Circus section, and, of course, half of the Amazing Digital Circus section on that one box was Jack's, of course. But it is what it is, I thought. And then I looked at more stuff, so I saw the Jack's shirt, some t-shirts, and some cups, and little bits of some plushies, and even saw the Made Jack's one. And there's like only one left in stock, and I just want to take a look at it, and it's like, oh my god, I didn't know what they had that too. And what I finally decided to do in the mall, especially in the Hot Topic place, was that I got a shirt that's mostly black with some red stuff on it, and then I went to go and wait at the line, and I got this Kinger pin. And then basically, after paying for these two things, I got a backpack and I put it in my backpack. And then I went back to the mall to sit and take a look at my Kinger pin. Because I really love Kinger. He's my top one favorite character in the circus show, and alongside Kane. Kane is also my top favorite. But Kinger is also a very interesting character to me. He's very kind. He helps others whenever they're struggling. And of course, he also misses his wife, and he partially created Kane. Oh, and not to mention, he can also be goofy sometimes, but I still love him. So yeah, I love Kinger. He's the GOAT of the show. He's like the dad of the show, which I agree on too. Anyways, I went to go buy some more stuff, such as a gray jeans, and then I went to go wait. But a few hours later, my mom and grandma showed up to fix my current phone and get a new phone for me, because the old one is like 5 years old and it's kind of broken. And then we had to do some stuff, which took a while. And then a few hours later, or less, I went back home with my two phones. And then I had to stay here for a little longer, just so I can order some food with my iPad and charger. I mean, not really. What am I saying? Anyways, I brought my iPad and charger to the mall just in case I need to charge my iPad, since it was real in battery. And then at around 8 p.m., I went to go order some popcorn, and I paid for it. And I put it in a bag, since I don't want it to fall. And then afterwards, I left the mall. I went back. I took 2 trains and the bus. And before I could go home, I went to this one store to buy some puffs. As you can see on screen. Like these little puff thingies that are like ball shapes, circles, spears. I don't know. Okay, what am I saying? They're like round with some cookies and cream on it. That's the only thing I ordered. It took around a couple of minutes. And I officially walked my way back home. I went back inside. I went upstairs to my bedroom. I brought all my bought stuff. I put them on top of my drawer. And then I turned on the computer, went to YouTube. And then I proceeded to watch the 9th episode with some popcorn, Fanta, pineapple Fanta, and then the puffs I ordered. And while I was watching episode 9, I had to record some parts last night. And the entire recording and footage of me reacting to episode 9 was like around 8 minutes. And then after that, after I finished watching the episode, I had to go to sleep because I was so tired and full. And then when I woke up in the morning, I had to do something with my old and new phone. And then unfortunately, that footage from last night, the 8-minute footage, got cut. So I had to redo my reaction this time. And this time it was like 3 minutes long. You see, I already posted the shorts on YouTube. I've posted to YouTube Shorts. And you can check it out if you want. And yeah, that's basically my story. It's like before, during, and after watching episode 9. Now let's get into a summary. I'm going to try not to keep it too long. It's probably like going to be like a 1, 2, 3 minute summary. So let's just get into it. So basically, the episode picks up immediately and right after episode 8. There's like no jumps or gaps or anything. And then Pomni asked, how did that even happen when Kane got deleted? And then Kinger tries to explain and squeak out his thoughts about how Kane was messing with the console. And then obviously things got very bad. And then Jax was like, oh, that's convenient. And of course, Jax would start drama by yelling at Kinger and everyone else. And then he pulled Kinger away. kind of. And I was like, oh my god, Jax, why'd you do that? Shut up, Jax, you're so annoying, Jesus. You know, I fucking hate Jax. You'll see why in a bit for some obvious reasons. I mean, Kinger said it was an accident, so... Yeah, and after that, Kinger starts to talk about brain scans and how they work. And then Jax, of course, being the asshole he is like, congratulations, Zubul! Like, whoa. That obviously made Zubul upset. And Jax calls Ragafa mommy? And then Ragafa rightfully tells him to shut up, and she yelled at him. Like, good job, Ragafa. And then she started to break down crying, which of course I also feel bad for Ragafa. She did not deserve all that treatment from Jax. Same with Gangle and Zubul and some other characters of the cast too. And then after that, some of the cast goes off somewhere else to do something. And then Pomni's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go do something. And so Pomni decides to go see what Kinger's doing, and then Kinger's like conjuring objects to place some things down the void so that nobody could fall down there. And then Pomni tries to do it, and then she did it for the first time. And then Pomni also broke down crying, saying that she thinks it's her fault. And then Kinger's like, no, it's not your fault. And then they had another heart-to-heart conversation, just like in episode 3. Because even Pomni said, yeah, we've been here before. And after that, they conjured more objects to place it on top of the void so that they don't fall off. And then some other people in the circus are just watching, but not really doing anything about it, just watching. And then eventually the other people of the cast come along besides Jax. And they were happy about it, except Jax, because he's just wandering off like a little loser. And after this little montage, it's like a bittersweet montage of the cast doing some moments there and here, it cuts to a certain scene where 8 minutes in, by the way, they saw Jax abstracted, and now he's going rogue and wandering around in anger, or like running around maybe. And then obviously Zubul is sad for some reason, even though Jax was also not very nice to Zubul either. And if I remember correctly, Gangle and Zubul have another nice conversation, especially with Ragafa and Pomni. And then Ragafa tells something about Jax and Ribbit between the two at a snowboarding adventure, I think. And then Ragafa cries as she says it because she says that she can't mention Ribbit's name again, according to Jax. And then Pomni's like, oh, I'm your best friend. And Ribbit's like, yes, you are. And then they have like this nice hugging scene, which I really love. It's a very heartwarming moment for me. And then after that, they just walk away looking at each other for around a couple seconds. I don't know why. And after that, Pomni uses a gun to find Jax. And then she sees Jax in the hallway, and then she shoots down all of the lights down in the hallway. And then she goes to Jax. And this scene really reminds me of episode 3. It's like a parallel to Kinger losing his wife inside the pillow fort thingy, if I remember correctly again. And so, Pomni goes to Jax and hugs him. Kind of. And then when she does, she gets teleported to a strange realm of Jax's mind. It's like a little acid trip. And once she's inside, she sees a couple doors. And then she goes to the first one. It's like a scenario on what if Ragafa abstracts. And then in that scenario, it's pretty scary and dark. So Jax with big eyes just looks at it. And then Pomni goes to talk about Jax to figure out what's wrong. And then she outright says, I can fix you. Which, why? It doesn't work like that. You can't fix somebody just because they're going through something bad and just because they're an asshole. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. It's also one of the reasons why I really don't like that scene. I feel like I hate that scene. And after Pomni says that she can quote-unquote fix him, he proceeded to strangle her. And it was kind of scary to watch. Because, like, dude, what? She can't breathe. Just let go of her, you purple psychopath. So Pomni manages to break free. And then, obviously, she looks scared. Even though it's just a scenario. And then Jax is like, oh, we can't die from oxygen deprivation, remember? And then Pomni just runs away. And then it also cuts to Jax looking at the camera again, and then the door closes. And that's basically the Regify abstraction scenario, which is the first door of Jax's mindscape. And when Pomni tries to go to the next door that's blocked off, she basically goes to the next one, because we might never know what's in that door, obviously. And then she goes and checks out that it's the Zoolable abstraction scenario, where everyone's bringing geometric shapes in order to honor Zoolable. And then Gangle has that same mask again from episode 4, which is like, try to make it a good funeral. And then suddenly, Jax pops out of nowhere with the maid outfit again from episode 5. And then Gangle's like, why are you wearing that? And Jax is like, oh, I just wanted to wear this, all this gender freaky stuff. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Why are you making fun of a non-binary person for that? What the hell? Kind of like, yeah, it's like he's mocking Zoolable's identity or expression or something. And then this scene is where it gets very uncomfortable. And basically, Gangle drops to the ground and says, I hate you. And then Jax is like, he outright says, oh, don't act like you don't like it, sweet cheeks. And while I was watching, I was like, ew, what the fuck? Why would you touch her face? And why would she blush at that? What the fuck? That was kind of uncomfortable to watch. Like, if I was Gangle in that scenario, I would just run away. And then what he does is worse. And so he gets the key and it's like, come meet me in my room after the funeral. Don't be late. And I was like, what the fuck was that scenario, Jax? Why would you imagine that? And then everyone notices, and then Gangle gets pissed off. She's like, hey, what are you guys waiting for? Do your own thing. And then everyone resumes. And then it closes the door again. And then we see the next scenario where, what if Gangle abstracts? So it's kind of set in a Looney Tunes themed, where Zoolable gets angry with the red and yellow eyes pattern thingy. It's like, I'm gonna kill you! When Zoolable runs to Jax, Jax is like, nah, I'ma just change the scenery. So Jax pauses and then sets the scene to a cliff in an outside place. And then Zoolable grabs the yikes sign, and then Zoolable falls down in a Looney Tunes style way. It's like, a cartoon style fall. And then I think that's basically it. That's basically like all the scenarios on how each of the member casts would abstract and how Jax would react to them. And that's like the final door close. And then Pomni looks at the final door and then she opens it. And that seems kind of confusing. I kind of don't get it, but it's like a little bit, something. So she opens the room and it's just like 4 Jaxes. Like the maid Jax is at the table, the big-eyed Jax is at the table, and the goofy Jax is at the table, and one of the Jaxes is like playing the piano with chains on his feet. And of course, you see a bunch of nonsense, but when Pomni asks for the key, of course, the Jaxes would start being nonsensical and kind of rude. And then I think Pomni threw the bottle at them, and then they all get Thanos snapped. Like, they just basically fade from the room. Like, they kind of like turn into dust, I think. It's like they all disintegrate after the bottle is thrown at them. And then the piano Jax grabs the key and gives it to Pomni, and then Pomni accepts the offer. And then, of course, the last Jax playing the piano would disappear out of nowhere. That scene was so random and confusing. Like, I had no idea what was going on. And then, basically, she opens the door, and then, boom, we're met with a Jax flashback segment, where I think it lasts for around 10 minutes, 5, 8, I kind of forgot. And then those live action scenes that we see briefly in episode 7 in Jax's mind when he was having a panic attack, like tweaking out or something, we actually see them like they're just extended scenes. So basically, Leroy's like running from his house, and then he drives a car to get away from his consequences after he pushed his mother to the ground. And it cuts like a strange scene of just a hand. I don't know what that was about. And then I think it probably cuts to a scene where Jax joins the circus in his POV, and he's like, oh, what is this? And then when Regify and Ribbit try to help Jax, he's like, get away from me! And then when Jax looks in the mirror, he's like, oh, I look stupid. And then Ribbit is just standing there, just like, oh, that feeling goes away eventually. And then there's like more scenes of Ribbit, Kaufmo, and Jax, which are from Jax's POV. And so was Ragathon and Kinger. They were also there too. Like, there was like only 4 to 5 people in the circus at the time. And eventually it cuts to this one big scene where it's like Jax is in Ribbit's room, and then Ribbit tells him that it was a fun adventure. And they basically have like this talk. And then Jax was uncomfortable at first because he used to told her that he was like homeless at the time. What else he needs to know? And then eventually it then cuts to like a third person POV where Jax tells him about his home life, his parents, his mother, and his personality about it, I think. And then when he tries to open up, his mother just laughs at him. And then, obviously, after some time, Jax just pushes him, is what he said. And then Jax just runs away. And then Ribbit reassures him that, if the police didn't catch him, maybe she's, like, fine, according to Ribbit. And then, after some time, Ribbit takes off her bow and then puts it on top of Jax's head, which is kind of cute. It was, like, a kind of, like, wholesome scene. And then he was, like, blushing, which I really like a lot. Until Kaufmo knocked on the door. And then Jax throws the bow on the ground. And then Jax is like, oh, this is not a good time. What do you want? We'll talk to you later. And then Jax speaks to Ribbit saying, if you ever tell anyone about this, I'm never speaking to you again. And Ribbit's like, I won't. And then there's like a few more scenes where Ribbit tries to talk to Jax. And then Jax is like, nah, fuck you. I have more people to worry about. No thanks. And then it gets to a point at the snow adventure where they have a big argument, both Jax and Ribbit. And then Ribbit's like, it's fine, I'll leave you alone. I'm sorry. It was like, fuck you, Jax. Why would you do that to your friend? In my opinion, I think that's the worst thing he's done. And then there's a few more scenes where he's kind of pushing away Kaufmo and Ragatha. And then it's like he fully ghosted Ribbit. And it got to a point where he saw Ribbit abstracted. And, well, as Ragathon and Jax were talking in that one scene, I think it's that time where Gangle showed up. And then Jax calls her Gangle just because she quote-unquote looks pathetic. And like, why, Jax? Holy shit. See, this is one of the reasons why I mostly became a Jax hater after watching episode 9. It's just baffling and irritating. And when Kaufmo convinces him that there's an exit, Jax is like, oh, have fun being crazy, as Kaufmo walks away. But then, after some time, we see this one scene in the pilot from Jax's POV where he sees Kaufmo abstracted. And then he looks into a mirror carrying a volleyball where he cries and is like, oh, you don't look too good. Are you gonna cry looking like this? Then we cut to more flashbacks from episode 6 and episode 7 from Jax's POV. And yeah, that's the entire flashback segment. And so Pomni sees the real Jax at a distance with like the dark pink light. So Pomni walks up to him from a far distance, and then she eventually runs to him while Jax is pleading for Pomni to leave him alone because he says that he doesn't deserve love after what he did. And when he acknowledged that he's just a terrible person. Now, I don't get why Pomni decided to comfort Jax in the scene. It was... I don't know what to say about that. So when Pomni hugs Jax, Jax is like, I don't want to go. And then Pomni's like, please stay. And then this is where Jax proceeded to abstract. And then when Pomni was holding on to like the bright light, she gets pulled away from Zulbul. It's like Zulbul saved her, which I'm thankful for. And so there's a montage of the cast building a tent just to keep Jax inside where he can rest forever inside the tent. And then Pomni glitches a little bit because she obviously touched an abstracted monster, which she shouldn't. And she survived, which I'm proud. Until we see Kane. Last 20 minutes of the movie, the second half of the episode focuses on Kane. So basically, Kane is in the void. He talks to himself. he basically questions himself on what he did to the cast, if it was really wrong or really right. And then sometime later, he just goes into a fetal position. And it's like flying in the void. And then he sees an exit door. So he goes to the grounds and runs. And then he sits down. And there's like little flashback segments of his red dot AI as he turns into a humanoid figure in his flashback thingy. And then he creates shapes to walk up the stairs on the exit door. And then we see another flashback of Scratch. And we also learned that Mike Dobby is Scratch's real name. It's pretty interesting. You know, it's pretty interesting to see more CNA lore with Scratch and how the circus was made. But it would have been nice if we got more lore of CNA and Scratch. Anyways, Kane reaches the exit door and he got all of the main cast's real names. So Pomni being Abigail, Jax being Leroy, Kinger being Grant, Zobel being Riley, Ragafa being Susie, and Gangle being Zoe. And then after that, it cuts back to him being floating in the white empty void again. And then after he realized what he's done, the blue AI tries to take control of him. So Kane straight up takes the blue AI out of his jaw, like his gum and teeth. And he takes it out and he's like, I'm sorry, buddy, you have to go. Goodbye. He throws the blue AI away and it kind of floats away. And then Kane flies back to the circus. Like, it's nighttime currently. And then Kane talks to a moon. Another heartfelt conversation that I really like, which is amazing and beautiful and kind of sad too. And after that, he says to the cast that he has empathy now in this scene. It's like, I understand you're afraid. I've learned a lot about you and your world. And then Zubel's like, hey, you've really put a lot of hell through us. And it's going to take some time to build some trust from you again. But it's so amazing that you're back. And after that, Kane puts in a video for the main cast to watch because he doesn't want to keep secrets anymore and no more mind games either. So like the cast learns about their real life counterparts and how their human selves are living happily in the real world while they're just stuck here. And it's honestly bittersweet to watch. And then we get like a final montage of the cast and Kane doing some stuff. And then it cuts to like a dinner table, kind of like the pilot, where it also zooms out of the circus and out into the void. And then Pomni is like, at the very end of the movie, Pomni just walks to the camera and then she's like waving to the viewer goodbye and then she walks away. And then it ends. In the post-credit scene, we all see the main 6 human counterparts. They all gather together at a bus stop. And then when a blue bus comes, they all get on the bus and then the bus drives away. And that's basically episode 9. The entirety of episode 9. And I want to get into the likes and the dislikes and some other stuff I want to say about it. Now, what I really like about episode 9 is the animation, the voice acting, and Michael Kovac really did a good job on voicing Jax in the finale because it's kind of emotional to hear. And also my favorite part was the second half of the movie involving Kane and him realizing what he's done to the cast. And I also like the music in this movie. It's incredible. I also really like the scenes where each of the main cast has a heart-to-heart conversation with each other. It's so heartwarming and bittersweet at the same time. And another thing I really like about the final episode, remember, is that the parallels from the scene are also amazing. It's kind of like a callback to previous episodes. And also more of the lore of Kane and how the circus was created, even though there was not much in it anyway. And I think that's all I want to say about what I like about episode 9. Now I can move on to what I dislike about Remember. And my first and most obvious complaint is the copious amount of Jax in this episode. Like 60% of it was just Jax. Mostly Jax. And I think it started in around 11 minutes in, and it ended around the 30-minute mark, I think. Because I fucking hate Jax. He's just not interesting at all. I don't understand how some people can still defend his actions, even after the final episode. It's also super weird how some people, even the Jax defenders, will also paint him as like this innocent little victim who did quote-unquote nothing wrong. And if you're a huge Jax fan who only defends Jax and hates the other characters, it's kind of a red flag. Just click off this video. Now the next few things that I obviously don't like is the pacing. There are some scenes that should have been extended because some of them felt too quick for me, and some of them also felt a little bit slow, like very slow I'm talking about. Like some of them should have been a little bit shorter. And it's so irritating to me how it's mostly just Jax on the first half of the episode because he's such an annoying character to me. I just don't like him. I used to be neutral with him at first, but now I've come to the conclusion that I mostly hate him after what he did to episode 9. After what he did to everyone in episode 9. And some parts of the story were kind of mid because the narrative just kind of wants you to feel bad for Jax, even though I don't feel bad for him in the slightest at all. Even if he had trauma, even if he being an asshole towards him, I just don't know what to fucking talk about sometimes. That doesn't mean he has the excuse to become an asshole to everyone. And the moment after he opened up to Ribbit was the moment he became the Jax we know today. And the snowboarding argument scene between Ribbit and Jax was also where I started to become a main hater for him. Plus, I wasn't really surprised that Jax was an entirely different person when he joined the circus and before joining the circus. Like, I saw this coming. Even before the actual episode came out on theaters and YouTube, I imagined that Jax was an entirely different person before and after arriving in the circus. Before Ribbit and Cosmo became friends with him. And yeah, I did saw it coming. I think I kind of predicted it in my mind. I want to briefly say my best and worst parts for episode 9 for me. My best part was the Kane returning part and also learning about the real human counterparts. And my other best parts was when there was no Jax. The main cast also get to have their heart-to-heart conversations. Now, my worst part for me was the what if Ragafa, Zubul, and Gangle abstraction scenarios. The fact that Jax got close to Gangle, even if it's an imagination, is just kind of disgusting. It's like, blah. And my other worst part for me was when Jax literally choked Pomni, even though it's a scenario. It's kind of hard to watch. And also the part where, where Jax was arguing with Ribbit. And that's where he began to push everyone away. And I think that it was literally all his fault. Now, I just want to talk about what could have made episode 9 better. Even though for the most part it was good for me, it still has a few flaws that I think I would have personally changed about it if I ever worked on it. So the first thing about this episode is the cast acknowledging their actions towards Kane, even though Kane also acknowledges his actions. It's kind of a letdown. It's kind of disappointing. And the next part is where we need to learn more about their relationships, like more interactions between, for example, Zobel and Kinger, Gangle and Kinger, and also Ragafa and Ribbit. Should have been really interesting. Like, we should at least get more scenes or possibly more flashbacks where there's like two characters who have little or no interaction with each other throughout the entire show. And the next things is to have a little less Jax. And I would personally add 30 more minutes to episode 9 just to develop the rest of the cast. And also to learn more about CNA, like what happened there, why did CNA shut down? And also another example I could give is, what is Kinger's relationship with Zoobal? Like, there should have been more lore in episode 9 besides Jax. And there should have been instead more lore about CNA, what the rest of the cast did in the past. Like, the cast should have gotten more screen time. Like, for example, I would have liked this show more if the rest of the cast got an equal amount of screen time like Jax, while also focusing on one character in their spotlight episode. For example, Ragatha. Like, I feel bad for her. Like, she was treated very badly by the show and the fandom. Like, justice for my girl Ragatha and Zubul. They deserve better because they're also goated. And for my final critique of the show, I like this show most of the time, even though it has some flaws, obviously. Like, I'm not really gonna go too deep into each episode. I just want to keep it brief, because I like the pilot, I like episode 2, I really like episode 3. And episode 4 I kind of like, episode 5 was meh, episode 6 was kind of ass, episode 7 was also mid, episode 8 I really liked, and episode 9 I also really liked, despite some flaws. Now, I don't think episode 9 was as bad as people make it out to be. Like, there are some shows that have way worse finales than this one, and some of these shows have way worse endings than The Amazing Digital Circus. Like, I don't know what's up with that. I mean, I understand where some people are coming from, like I do, but regardless of your opinion, I still do think that this show was still amazing for me most of the time. I think it's incredible that when this episode, like the last act, released in theaters, it had like over $30 million in the box office, which is very impressive. Like, this is kind of like a big step for indie animation in the industry. It's amazing. Like, I'm so excited to see what indie animation has in the future, because I'm looking forward to it. Now, I don't like when people compare The Amazing Digital Circus's ending to other shows. Like, I don't think it's nearly as bad, even though it still has a little bit of flaws that could have been better for me as well. So yeah, I'll probably do a ranking of the episodes and the characters after episode 9 soon. Yeah. And that is basically it for the entire video. Thanks for watching. And one more thing I have to say is that I was originally supposed to be doing a summary of episode 9, but it ended up being around 10 to 20 minutes long, like basically the entire plot. And if there's some things that I've accidentally missed, just let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, I'm just a YouTuber who plays games, makes animations and art, and I can even do a future commentary on some things. And I could also post like random videos, such as comparisons and parallels on some random scenes. So yeah. That's basically it for my entire video. I hope you enjoyed watching once again. And be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe for some future content. Bye!